I'm Ryan Lang, otherwise known as the Denver Agent. Welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, please go ahead and click the red subscribe button. If you've seen my ugly face before, welcome back. Additionally, I am a licensed broker here in the Rocky Mountain state of Colorado. For any of your real estate questions, concerns, or needs, please give me a call or text at the number below. We consistently hear the debate on short-term versus long-term rentals. Which ones are better? Which ones come with more headaches? So I decided to chat with Mike here, the Airbnb guru, to hammer down the actual answer to this question. So
I'm Michael McLaren. I am a realtor here in Denver, Colorado. I've been doing it for about 2 years now. I myself have got two properties. One's a room rental, another's a short-term rental, and I manage another short-term rental up in Steamboat Springs. I manage two Airbnb properties, and I can tell you right now firsthand that there are definitely benefits and drawbacks to both sides.
Let's break down the advantages and disadvantages of both rental properties.
All right, when it comes to short-term rentals, the cat's out of the hat. Obviously, they're a lot more profitable than long-term rentals. On the short-term rentals that I'm managing, we're seeing anywhere in any given month between 2 and 5x what we'd see on a long-term rental. So a lot of it comes down to seasonality. In the summer times, you're going to be getting close to that 5x mark. In the winter times, here in the Colorado market at least, depending on where you're at, you might be getting closer to that 2x mark as well. So I've managed some long-term rentals and the short-term rentals as well, and one thing that I can definitely speak to is that the short-term rentals stay a lot cleaner. You're getting cleaners in there 2 to 3 times a week, depending on the turnover, and you're getting professional hands cleaning the nooks and crannies of your home, making sure that it's consistently to the top standard.
And that's charged, you charge that in the Airbnbs, correct?
Yeah.
In the price, okay.
So the cleaning fee, typically if you itemize it on your Airbnb account, if you're looking to make a reservation yourself, you'll find that the host is charging you, the renter, for the cleaning fee. So on the flip side of that, me having the tenants come in, pay for the cleaning fee, gets that taken care of.
Now, do you sometimes charge a cleaning fee and you clean it yourself?
I've never once done that.
Okay,
actually.
all right.
I'm a lazy son of a bitch.
Okay, I've heard of people doing that.
I've done it once, and that was when I was starting out the short-term rentals in the first place.
Okay.
And after that 6 or 7 hour excruciating day, getting down on my knees, scrubbing all the surfaces, I was like,
I'm paying for this.
Outsourcing every single time.
Nice. Okay, understood.
One of the great things about short-term rentals is that there are tons of softwares that you can implement into your business to help you automate it as much as you can. In my experience, I've had to do a little bit more work dealing with a property management team that manages my long-term rentals than I have actively managing my short-term rentals.
Nice.
Just because of all the systems and tools that I have in place. Bad tenant, no problem. The typical length of stay for any given guest might be anywhere between a day and 5 days. So if someone's itching you or scratching you the wrong way, they'll be out just like that. One of the things that I love about my short-term rental is if I have friends or family coming into town, I can block off my calendar and use the space myself. Typically with short-term rentals, you're getting less wear and tear. You'll have a family coming in overnight. Maybe you have someone coming in for one night on a layover at DIA, Denver National Airport. They're not using your appliances, using all the utilities and whatnot. They're just coming for a place to sleep.
Yeah, the bed is the only thing that's not cleaned, essentially, sometimes.
What do you mean?
Like if they're just staying for the night, the only thing that's used is the bed. Like they walk in, sleep there, walk out. Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
And they might use 1 bed out of 5, you know?
Yeah, true. Nice.
Whereas when you have long-term renters, you know, they're going to be showering, cooking, 3 meals a day, presumably, having friends over, throwing
using
more
the
parties.
water, using electricity.
Yep, all that good jazz that we do. One of the other reasons on a more personal level that I do love Airbnbs is that it's a different product. You're helping to facilitate an experience for guests.
Nice.
So if someone's coming here to celebrate, a bridal shower.
Okay. Bridal shower.
A bridal shower or a birthday, or they're coming to ski up in the mountains and they want to have a nice cozy home to come back to relax and make memories with. You're going to be the one helping to facilitate that, and it's just a little bit more rewarding on the back end when you get a review.
Right.
And hopefully it's a 5-star and you've done your job well.
Nice.
The main pro, and typically is why everyone gets into short-term rentals, is because you can make a lot more money. On any given month, I might be making between 2 to 5 times what I'd be seeing on long-term rates. So for me, a house in Aurora, I have a $2,700 mortgage payment. My lowest month to date for the past 14 months has probably been around $4,500 in revenue. of
Damn.
which I net about 3,500 or so.
Yeah.
On the upper echelon of that, we're pushing closer to $14,000 in revenue.
Okay.
And that operating margin tightens up a little bit, closer to 70 or 80% when you're at those higher revenue months.
Damn, you're gonna own that house in like 8 years.
I'm not paying that debt over. 2.875 rate. Why would I?
True.
Yeah. One of the other great things about a short-term rental is when you do have more income coming in, then you do have more disposable money to put back into the house to make it nicer, to start charging higher rates, to get higher quality tenants. You can throw more investments, maybe put a kitchenette in the basement, duplex it out, a lot of landscaping, tree trimming, really just making sure that you're not skimping on the maintenance that's necessary for a home.
Yeah.
Just because you've got a lot more disposable income coming in. Any landlord's long-term rental nightmare is when you have a bad tenant that you might have to evict. Evictions can be costly, time-consuming, and can really just get you out of your groove with your real estate investing in general. I know a lot of people who had a bad tenant, and you know, just like that, they've switched out of it and pursued different paths because they can't handle it anymore.
What
it's
was
too much.
the during COVID when the government told tenants they didn't have to pay rent? What was that again?
The eviction moratorium, I think.
Eviction moratorium, yeah, stuff like that. That's what scares me about long-term rentals.
Yeah, and so the process of evicting a tenant, you know, it could be as, you know, they're an easy one, they walk out, or it might be something that takes you 2 to 3 months, or if you live in New York, it could take you 2 or 3 years potentially, depending on the regulations and whatever municipal government you got your property in. With the short-term rental, you know, it's a lot easier. You get Airbnb support involved. Since there's no lease in place, you have a little bit more leeway to potentially contact the police if needed, because you'll have a squatter in your home if they're unregistered. One of the other great things with short-term rentals, whether you're listing your property on Vrbo or Airbnb, is that there is increased and enhanced liability coverage. So if you think about the layers of your liability coverage when you're renting out on a short-term rental, the first things first is the $3 million air cover that you get with Airbnb, or $1 million liability coverage that you have on Vrbo.
Okay.
And then you would hit your homeowner's insurance, and myself, I also have an umbrella policy that covers me across all my properties.
Okay.
So you just have an extra layer there
Understood.
to cushion you in case anything negative happens.
Okay, I did not know that. That's very appealing. Now let's talk about the benefits of long-term rentals. Your income is obviously going to be very predictable. You have 12 months that you are locked into, let's say, $2,000 a month from that tenant. That's very nice for planning in the future or knowing whether you're going to have liquid cash later that year. Additionally, with long-term rentals, you're going to have way less management. With Airbnbs, you're turning over almost every weekend, if not twice a week. With a long-term rental, that's going to happen once a year. Additionally, with long-term rentals, people aren't going to be calling asking how to operate the dishwasher, where the forks are, where the knives are, why you don't have any steak knives. That's all supplied by the long-term tenant. And finally, lower overall costs for long-term rentals. Utilities could be put on tenants. Even insurance is sometimes put on tenants. And I've even heard of taxes being put on tenants if you're really lucky.
One of the other things with that too, just hopping in, chiming in, is you don't have to furnish it if it's a long-term tenant.
Right, lower overall costs, another thing.
Yep, depending on the scale of the Airbnb or the short-term rental that you're trying to furnish, it could range anywhere between $15,000 and sky's the limit.
True, especially if it's in Avon in a nice, they're expecting nice couches, you know?
Yeah.
Obviously, this makes short and long-term rentals look very appealing to any real estate investor. But let's take a look at the drawbacks of both.
One of the cons with the short-term rental, and it just comes with operating the business, is that you do have seasonality. So some months, like I said, in the summer, the peak months, especially if you live in a destination or vacation area, you're gonna be raking in money. And then in the off-season months, you might see crickets of bookings. Depending on where you're at, you know, you could go from 100% occupancy in the summertime all the way down to, you know, 15% in the mud seasons here in Colorado, for example.
Damn.
Another one with the short-term rentals is utilities. As the landlord and operator of that short-term rental, you're going to be required to pay for all the utilities, the cable, the internet, any services that are involved in operating your short-term rental. One of the major cons of a short-term rental, and this is for the most part out of your direct control, are the regulatory landscapes that you're operating in. You could be in an environment that is pro short-term rentals where it's easy and they have a system in place to get a license, for example, or you could potentially be caught blindsided 2 years down the line. You've made all this money investment into a short-term rental, and the municipal government comes in and just flat out bans them, for example.
Do you find that HOAs consistently ban them? Is that another, or is it only governments that ban them?
HOAs certainly have the authority to ban them as well.
Okay.
That would absolutely be something that you look into with your realtor, the HOA documents, when reviewing a potential investment property, if the short-term rental is the route that you're looking for.
Nice, okay.
So one of the key differentiators between a long-term rental and a short-term rental, and you have to know this if you want to do the short-term rental, is that the expectations need to be different. One is relatively more passive, and the other, the short-term rental, might be a lot more active, depending on the engagement that you have and the sophistication of your hosting.
So essentially what you're saying is short-term rentals might require a little bit more work, but you're probably gonna get a little bit more revenue overall out of a short-term rental.
Yeah, one's a business and the other is a more steady passive
income.
asset.
Exactly. Okay,
Yeah.
got it. Understood.
But I will say this, because I'm just a big short-term rental hype man, if you know what you're doing, then you'll rise to the level of your systems, and it can be pretty passive. But it's those hosts that think that it's just, it's those hosts that go into it with the same expectation where it's, set it up and forget it. They're going to be caught, empty-handed when the time comes. And
right, they're going to be caught with a two-star review because they're not putting any work into their short-term rental.
Yeah, the hobby hostists, those are the ones that are going to get burned. It's really, it's a professional business that you're operating. It's hospitality. You're not just providing housing for someone, you're providing a housing, but you're also providing an experience and hospitality and customer support that comes along with that.
Right.
And that is all bundled in the price that you're getting, hopefully more revenue on the short-term rental.
Nice.
In a pinch, if you're looking to get started with real estate investing and you don't have that much capital saved up on the sidelines right now, short-term rentals might not be the best option for you. I like to think about short-term rentals with like the 80-20 rule. 20% of the hosts pull in 80% of the business, 80% of the hosts pull in 20% of the business. You want to be in the 20% of the hosts that are pulling in 80% of the business, and in order to do that, you got to fork up a little bit more money up front. You got to be thoughtful with your furnishings, with your decorations. You might want to hire an interior designer or spend way too many months, like myself, decorating it yourself. And yeah, you just want to make sure that you've got high-end appliances, furnishings, finishes, and you just want it to be nice.
Cool. Let's jump into long-term rental drawbacks now. Obviously, you're set in a fixed price for an entire year. If demand rises in that area, just like everywhere in Denver really is, you're stuck with that price. Additionally, with long-term rentals, if you have a bad tenant, you are stuck with them for a while.
This could be a major source of a headache.
Yeah, and during COVID, if you had a squatter in your house, it was really hard to evict them because of an eviction moratorium. Additionally, some people might not treat your long-term rental very well. Wear and tear is going to happen much quicker, especially because you don't get cleaners in there once a week, sometimes even twice a week.
Yeah, and a lot of times these problems can fester. With a short-term rental, you got a cleaner coming in 2 or 3 times a week, so if there's an issue, you got eyes on it, you get notified, you can repair it right away. With a long-term tenant, if they're just a little bit negligent or they don't catch something, then you could be stuck with a fat bill down the line. If you've got mold, for example, or some sort of water restoration issue happening, and you're just not aware of it.
Yeah. Now, rarely do all of these events come up in a short-term or long-term rental, but as a real estate investor, you need to understand any possible scenario. Personally, I'm gonna go with a long-term rental here over a short-term rental because I'm more of the passive income guy. I might not make as much, but I wanna buy 10 of them and then sell them all off when I'm 50 years old.
To counter that, I would just say that, would you rather have 10 long-term rentals and be dealing with 10 tenants, or would you rather have one short-term rental and be making the same amount of revenue?
That's a good point.
One other thing that I'd say is that you really do rise to the level of your systems. And so I mean it when I say that I spend more time managing the manager of my long-term rental than I do actively managing my short-term rental.
That's good. That's good. Let us know in the comments below what you're a fan of, short-term or long-term rentals. Until next time, later guys.